If you had to guess, what would you say the leading cause of death is globally? Don't worry, you can look it up if you want. If you ask Google, it'll tell you ischemic heart disease takes the most lives each year, with an annual toll of 9 million lives. ChatGPT gives the same answer, as does Elon Musk's Grok. The problem is, they're all wrong. There is another cause of death that takes 73 million lives each year globally. That is 8 times as many lives as are taken by ischemic heart disease. The reason you might not know about this other leading cause of death is it's illegal to talk about it in some countries. For example, in France, a news company was fined 100,000 euros for talking about this leading cause of death. Why would they be fined for talking about that? Well, because this leading cause of death is abortion. And according to French law, embryos and fetuses are not legally considered persons. And apparently, France is such a dystopian nightmare that disagreeing with the government on television is illegal. For the full backstory, February 25th, 2024, C News, a conservative news channel in France, aired a program in which abortion was called the leading cause of death globally. The next day, Clémence Gouetti, a member of France's parliament and vice president of the National Assembly, called for C News to be sanctioned. 9 months later, ironically, the wish conceived by Clements was birthed when Arcom, France's independent public authority responsible for regulating audiovisual and digital communications, published a ruling that C News was in violation of several laws. I left a translation of Arcom's decision in English in the description of this video so you can check it out for yourself. But primarily, Arcom's deliberations found that C News, quote, violated the requirement for honesty and rigor in presenting information, as embryos and fetuses are not legally considered persons under French law. Now, this is absurd for several reasons. For one, the government should not be the arbiter of who is considered a person and who is not. We've seen how that's played out in the past, and it's never pretty. Second, the idea that during an abortion a death does not occur is blatantly anti-scientific and anti-common sense even. Don't worry, I'll go through this very slowly so everybody can follow. Death is defined by Merriam-Webster as, quote, a permanent cessation of all vital functions, the end of life. Other dictionaries have similar definitions. For example, Oxford defines it as, quote, the end of the life of a person or organism. But for something to die, it has to first be alive. So is a fetus alive according to science? Biologists do consider a zygote alive from the point of conception because it exhibits many of the hallmarks of something that is living. For example, the zygote has cellular organization, it exhibits metabolism, it experiences growth and development, and even if in a limited way, it responds to stimuli. Again, this isn't just my opinion, this is just well-established, non-controversial scientific fact, and it's why a University of Chicago study found that 96% of scientists do believe that the life of a human begins at conception. Again, not controversial. If you were to ask a veterinarian, when does the life of a dog begin? Or when does the life of a cat begin? Or if you were to explore when the life of any mammal really begins, the answer would be at conception. For some reason, it's only for humans that we want to confuse this idea. So what all this means is if a fetus is alive, which we've established, a fetus is alive from the point of conception according to the science, and then it ceases to be alive, a death has occurred, which means if a fetus dies, whether by abortion or otherwise, a death has occurred. And if that is true, which it very clearly seems to be true, then if there are more deaths by abortion than any other cause of death in the world, then abortion is the leading cause of death. Again, 73 million abortions take place each year. The next leading cause of death is at 9 million deaths per year. It's not even close. So a news company in France was fined 100,000 euros for saying something on TV which is scientifically factual. Regardless of your political leanings, regardless of your personal beliefs, the fact that a death occurs during an abortion is 100% factual. And you can only deny that if you are also willing to deny science. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the only time this company has been fined by Arcom. According to some estimates I found online, they are fined once every 3 months on average. For now, the scope of Arcom's reach is limited to television, national broadcast television. But there are some who want this to be applicable to even online platforms like YouTube or other sources of news that people consume on a daily basis. And laws like this are already in effect in other countries like the UK. We all know that case of the woman who was silently praying in her head outside of an abortion clinic and got arrested. Well, it's gotten even worse since then. There is now a law on the books in the UK which would allow the government to imprison people for up to 15 years for watching far-right, quote-unquote, content on the internet. Merely for watching content with a political lean can get you imprisoned in the UK. There have also been some terrifying stories of people being jailed for social media posts and comments. For example, a Jewish man was arrested and accused of anti Semitism for commenting under a friend's post on Facebook that he didn't like a rabbi. And unfortunately, even in the US, there are people being jailed for long sentences for peacefully protesting against abortion or trying to help people who are seeking abortion find some alternative way out of their hardship rather than killing their baby. If you want to hear more about the issue of censorship in the UK, Brett Cooper of the comment section has a great video on this. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But what this illustrates is a concerning new reality that we've come into where it is illegal in some countries to state basic facts that are affirmed by science clearly, and more concerningly, by major world religions like Catholicism. The Catholic Church is very clear that abortion is murder. Yet to state this basic fact in the UK or in France, or I'm sure in several other countries in the EU, is illegal and can land you in jail or with severe fines. Even watching videos like this one could land you in jail in the UK. And that's not even to get into the consequences for stating basic scientific facts around gender and the beliefs of many major world religions on that subject and other subjects similarly. And these laws in France and the UK bring up some interesting hypothetical scenarios. For example, Pope Francis is going to visit France in the coming month in December. Now, what if during that visit he gives a speech which is broadcast on television and he talks about how abortion is murder or how abortion is the leading cause of death in the world?
L'aborto è più di un problema. L'aborto è un omicidio. L'aborto senza mezze parole. Chi fa un aborto uccide. Non è una persona, è una vita umana. Punto.
Or if he talks about how gender ideology is harmful for young people and even adults.
And the Vatican has released its highly anticipated infinite dignity doctrine. The 20-page report rejects gender-affirming surgery, surrogacy, and gender theory, calling them, quote, the greatest threats to human dignity.
Or what if he talks about the church's view on marriage? Would companies who broadcast that speech get in trouble for simply broadcasting that speech? Would Pope Francis himself face any legal repercussions for such a speech? Could Catholic churches who broadcast their masses on YouTube or even on television, could they get in trouble if one of the Sunday readings contains one of these very basic truths that you're no longer allowed to say on French television or on social media in the UK? Thankfully, so far, at least as far as I can find, there hasn't been a case where this has happened, but the way the laws are written in the UK, in France, in places like Canada, it wouldn't surprise me if this did happen sometime very soon. Okay, so we've talked about the issue. Everything's terrible. The world's on fire. Horrible things happening all over the place. What can we do about it, though? I don't like these videos like this where it's just talking about stuff that's bad. I want to know what can we do about it? Because if we just talk about what's bad, nothing has been accomplished. We've just identified a problem, which is half the battle, but we also need to know what to do next. So, what do? First thing you're going to do, pray the rosary. Pray a rosary dedicated to the end of abortion globally and for the people who are fighting against abortion internationally. People who are in prison for peacefully protesting abortion or for praying silently outside of an abortion clinic. That's number one. Second, find a local pregnancy center that offers care to pregnant women and encourages them against getting an abortion and provides resources for them so that they don't feel the pressure to get an abortion because the situation is too stressful. Find a local pregnancy center like that and contribute to it monthly. Third, find some media organization that is doing this work already to spread the truth about what abortion is and what it does and how evil it is. The largest organization that comes to mind is Live Action, founded and run by Lila Rose. They do great work and they produce a lot of high quality media to educate people on what abortion actually is. And this is media that's been proven to change people's minds. They have a lot of man on the street interviews where they ask somebody, what is your position on abortion? And they'll say, I'm pro-choice. And then they'll show them a video from Live Action. And then they'll say, oh, actually, I'm pro-life now. That's terrible. So this is stuff that is proven to work. It's accessible internationally. They're based in America, but their work reaches all over the world because it's on platforms like YouTube, which is accessible in most of the world for now. But if it's not Live Action, if you know of another media company that is doing this work, then contribute to one of those companies. And I think if everybody were to do these three things, we would make a lot of progress in this cause. Anyways, that's the video. Thank you for watching up to this point. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Consider becoming a member by clicking the link in the description. And until I see you next time, God bless.